Hello there, kia ora. We don't have a live episode this week of Behind the Walls because of Waitangi Day. The Waitangi Day being on the Thursday has sort of thrown things out of whack a little bit for the Friday. Some people are still in Waitangi, some people are travelling, some people are spending time with whānau because of what happened over the last few days. It's exhausting for those people involved. And some people just straight up took the Friday off so that they could have a 4-day weekend. And you know what? I respect that decision and am jealous of it. Anyway, instead of a live show, we're going to give you a bit of something different. An interview with Jason Paris, the CEO of OneNZ. Blake and I sat down with him at the beginning of the week to have a little chat, and I've got to admit, when Blake sent me the invite for this interview, I was kind of surprised because he wasn't on my list of people that I wanted to chat to. But it is a really important thing to note that when it comes to communication in this country, it is a really important tool and piece to have within our infrastructure back catalogue, as it were, or a tool belt. And we saw with Cyclone Gabriel just how fragile that can be sometimes. In fact, we talk about how Cyclone Gabriel led to the doorstep of Elon Musk, and we do discuss with Jason the problems with Elon Musk and where that line is for OneNZ to go, you know what, this is not us. And this did happen after Elon threw his I love you heart salute on the stage of the inauguration of the US president. So take of that what you will. I've had a few people message me going, why are you talking to a CEO of a big company? Because that big company is a really important part of our infrastructure network. When that infrastructure went down during Cyclone Gabriel, it made it much harder to coordinate things like rescue and recovery to ensure that people were safe or delivery of supplies. But it also left open a window where certain grifters were able to go and go, hey, we're coming to help. You should totally give us money to help. Yeah, and so it becomes a real problem for a lot of people. Our communication networks are core to being able to stay in touch, make sure people stay safe, and that also comes up in this conversation. So I hope you do get something out of it, even though it's a little different and a little surprising. Maybe, just maybe, you might learn something, or it might re-establish your feelings about CEOs of big telco companies. Who knows? But sit down and try and enjoy the episode anyway.
Hello and welcome to the studio, Jason Paris from One New Zealand. Hi Jason, it's good to see you.
Fantastic to see you too, Blake. Thanks for having me on.
First of all, how did you get into the tech industry?
It kind of just happened by chance, to be honest. So I started my career in sales and marketing, and I'm born in Invercargill. I'm a proud Southlander. I flew myself up to Auckland to try and get a job in the big smoke, and I was ringing around lots of recruitment companies who were saying, "Who are you?" and "No, I wouldn't meet with you," until I found someone who said to me, "I've got this job that no one wants in Wellington. Would you consider moving to Wellington versus Auckland?" And it was with a startup telecommunications company called Saturn. That was a challenger brand to telecom back in the day. And so I met with them. I really liked them. They liked me. And so I started in technology via Saturn Communications, and then loved it so much. The rest of my career pretty much has been technology or media based. So Nokia, Telecom, and now One New Zealand.
And how have you found the industry overall in your long career?
Yeah, it's outstanding. Like as I said before, I'm a proud Southlander and first, but I'm also a very proud New Zealander. So I get drawn to industries that do special things for the country that they operate in, and that's what telecommunications does. So probably amplified at its height through COVID, right, where people really did realize that it's impossible for you to run your business or to learn or to work or to keep in touch without our services. And so it just reminded people, I suppose, of how important the role is that we play within people's lives and businesses. So I find the industry energizing. I find that the responsibility is a privilege, and I've been here now for 6 years, and I'm just as excited today as I was on day one.
I love jobs like that. When you're excited to come in like that. Is there anything about the industry that you think would surprise people that you've come across that they just don't realise is happening in the background, or that kind of people when they find out just go, really, that's what the story is?
Well, I suppose, like you compete really aggressively in the market to win customers and retain customers. And, but when the country really needs it, the industry works together really collaboratively from an infrastructure resilience perspective. So if any of us have issues, either in a one-off issue with a customer, or as we saw with Cyclone Gabriel, a big kind of regional event, uh, we very, very quickly put our respective businesses aside and just do whatever's best for the country and for our customers. And so very collaborative behind the scenes on infrastructure. And then we compete really aggressively for customers. So I think that would probably the level of collaboration on infrastructure would probably surprise people. What else might surprise them? How well New Zealand is regarded internationally. So you can just look at some of the most recent high profile investments that have been announced by Microsoft and Amazon for the New Zealand market. We are a very attractive market, even though we've got more sheep than people, and that's because New Zealanders are known for being relatively early adopters of technology. So yeah, I think we punch well above our weight internationally, and when we go overseas representing New Zealand, we're certainly held in very high regard and very well respected from a technology perspective.
That issue with Cyclone Gabriel is a really good one to actually jump into the whole Starlink thing that you guys are dealing with. Was that an incident that made you guys go, we need to have better coverage, better infrastructure in place, something that's going to work no matter what's happening? Because obviously we've got a very variable landscape out there. 100% coverage is never something that's been possible in the past. How much of a catalyst was an event like Cyclone Gabriel in that decision-making process?
It was the key driver, to be honest. I think it kind of reminded all of us how reliant we are on power for our infrastructure. So when the flooding and the cyclone hit, all of our infrastructure stayed up. It was the power and the fibre that was running to it that got disconnected or washed out. And as I said before, the role that we play within New Zealand is a privilege, and so you take that responsibility really seriously. And we wanted to make sure that if a technology existed that could avoid that situation again, that we brought it to Aotearoa. And so we looked around and at alternative technologies that might not be as reliant on the ground power, and we came across satellite. Starlink broadband already had a very strong reputation in remote and regional areas, so clearly the technology was working pretty well, and the next generation of that was going to be satellite to mobile. So we basically just picked up the phone, called Elon Musk, said, "Hey, have we got an opportunity for you?" And then really, really proud that just a few months ago now, New Zealand was the first country on the planet to go live with this technology. So we were the second to sign the deal. So we were second behind T-Mobile in the US, so the first in the Southern Hemisphere to partner with them, and then the first of the world because our New Zealand engineers managed to work pretty hard, and and we were the first on the planet to launch it. So really, really excited, and this is, you have to see the line of sight to the sky to get coverage. So the coverage is beaming down from space. So if you're in a mine, you're not going to have coverage. If you're in those pesky elevators, you're not going to get coverage. But if you have line of sight to the sky and you have the right device, then you're going to be able to text, and that's pretty cool.
The right device was going to be my next question. My father is one of these people who is a deliberate Luddite, hates smartphones, hates those kind of things, does a lot of tiki touring and freedom camping. and if something goes wrong, he's occasionally found himself without service. What is the bare minimum he's going to need to be able to call for help if something goes wrong?
It's going to go back to the third generation, right? So
Okay.
3 generations, yeah. And so this is going to be the catalyst for your dad to upgrade. Now, the good news
I
is
hate
that
that.
the good news is that you can get good money for your old device via trade-in. All of the telecommunications companies offer some pretty good incentives to save money on upgrading to the next device, and in some instances, you can get it for $0 down. So if you're cost conscious, then this is still an accessible service for you, and those prices will continue to come down over time. So as each generation launches, from what I understand from the device manufacturers, they're not going to remove the satellite accessibility from those older devices. So it'll get even more cost effective over time.
So what was your aim behind choosing Elon Musk, for example? Was it the success with Tesla Element and his other properties that attracted you guys to go after Mr. Musk, or were there just no other partners willing to partner?
He was just 3 or 4 years ahead of any alternative provider in the market. So this is rocket science, right? So you're strapping satellites to rockets, you're firing them 500 kilometers above Earth into lower orbit. They're then traveling in sequence at 27,000 kilometers an hour. Each satellite only lasts between 5 or 6 years, so you've got to replace them every 5 or 6 years by taking one satellite out of a constellation traveling at 27,000 kilometers an hour and then putting one in. Like, you imagine how difficult that is to execute. His next generation of rocket, which is Starship, can strap up to 100 satellites, so more than anyone else. And so his ability to send a rocket up every 6 days means that the number of satellites that are being deployed is way faster than anyone else. And so it was really the technology excellence combined with the technology leadership that attracted us to him. And then SpaceX, their mission, which is maximum positive impact on maximum number of people. So that felt like a pretty cool mission, to be a part of, and definitely through the negotiations and the partnership with Elon and with SpaceX, I can tell you they've been nothing but fantastic, amazingly incredible people who partner really well and just want to make this technology accessible for everyone as fast as they possibly can. So I know that some people, they can find Elon Musk polarizing, and I don't necessarily align with everything that he does, but from a technology perspective, I think he's a genius, and we're really delighted that we're partnering with him.
That brings me to my next question then. How do you put his eccentric personality, I guess the best way to put it, aside so that you can produce the best technology for your customers?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get asked that a lot, both by our teams and our customers. And the first thing I say is that I don't necessarily agree with everything my wife says, but we're still married and I still love her. And so it's just an undoubted fact that he is a technology genius and probably one of the most incredible people that we'll ever see, humans that we'll ever see, even if you look back hundreds of years and you move forward hundreds of years. And so we focus on the technology partnership, and then we just watch with interest anything else that happens on the side. And there's been nothing that he has done or his company or his organization has done that has concerned us to a point where we think that it could put our partnership at risk from a ethics or from a values perspective. But you never say never. We're always watching space. But At this point in time, we firmly believe he's a technology genius that's doing incredible things for the planet and for New Zealand.
Are you? So that brings me to my other question. Then, are you willing to pull away should that change?
Well, it's a hypothetical question, but of course, you never say never do anything. What I think that we would never pull away from is the commitment to satellite technology, and Elon and SpaceX have publicly talked themselves that they don't just deploy their own Starlink technology; they deploy others as well. Kuiper, for example, which is the new Amazon service, and very hard to suggest that Jeff Bezos is not going to do what he puts his mind to. So I think in the next 3 or 4 years, we'll be privileged enough to have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 different satellite services that are providing similar services to what SpaceX and Starlink do today. It's just that they are so far ahead of anyone else. As I said, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead, that they're the best partner for us at this point in time.
Okay. How much help or hindrance has the government been, the New Zealand government, in getting this set up? Because obviously space is something that the current government is very keen to explore and to make a bit of money off and to promote. But it's also relatively unexplored in terms of what the country is doing. We've obviously got one big rocket lab out there doing their thing. But it's a terrible cliche, but it's kind of a final frontier in technology for us. How much help or hindrance has the government been for you guys to be able to achieve this?
They've been massively supportive, but because they haven't had to do too much, to be honest. So,
fair enough. Yeah, it's always easy to support something you don't have to do anything on.
yeah, like one of their key priorities is infrastructure resilience, and as we know, there's a lot of opportunity, but not enough money to go around. So, if someone steps up, invests their own money in a collaboration with an organisation like SpaceX, which brings a massive coverage improvement and resilience improvement across the country without them having to do anything. Very, very well received. So you wouldn't find a government department or a government minister that was not absolutely delighted and 100% behind this. So, yeah, it's a good space to. It's not always the case, so it's a good space to be in, and we've got a lot of positive support. And as you said, if you talk to anyone in government, they're super proud that I think we're the only country or one of the very few countries to have a Minister of Space and Minister Collins. They're hugely proud and supportive of what Peter Beck is doing with Rocket Lab and putting little old Aotearoa on the map for rocket launches. So I think this is just a nice complementary service to that they're running behind.
With that, then, have you spoken to Minister Collins and how you can make this even better, or Rocket Lab? Then,
yeah, well, she has. I have spoken to Minister Collins about this a lot because she loves the service. And the only question she did say is, what's the chances of some of these satellites being launched by Rocket Lab versus SpaceX? But I think that's unlikely because Elon Musk owns both Starlink and SpaceX, so he'll much prefer to use his own facilities than someone else's. The good news is, though, that there's enough demand and there. So even if you rule out the Starlink satellites that are being launched, Rocket Lab has more than enough demand itself from other providers that kind of make sure that it's a very profitable, successful business.
Well, I was going to ask a slightly more technical question about personal data, which is obviously a big deal these days in the communications industry. What is the level of personal data that is being made accessible by these satellites? Or what steps are in place to protect people's personal data from your end to make sure it's not being accessible or accessed by people who shouldn't have it?
Yeah. So the starting position for us right across our entire business is that it's not our data, it's yours. So and we only keep data for as long as we need to complete the transaction. So, for example, if it was identity, you needed your driver's license. We make sure that you are who you are, and then we don't need that from that point in time. Then we purge it. But some people don't realise. In fact, this is probably one of the surprising things about our industry is we know who you are, where you live, where you work, where you shop, where you travel to, in real time, based on if you've got a mobile phone in your pocket, and so we take again that responsibility of having that data really seriously, and so we anonymize it, we purge it, and we don't need it, and we make sure we've got all the right security settings in place to do as much as we can to avoid having any cyber risk within our business. But like I say to my owners and my board, it's not if but when any business has a cyber threat. Like the level of sophistication that these attackers have nowadays means it really is a whack-a-mole situation, and I could spend an extra 1 billion New Zealand dollars on infrastructure security and still not be 100% guaranteed that we wouldn't have a risk. So the New Zealand business need to know that the industry and One New Zealand take privacy very seriously, very ethical in how we use customers' data, and our selling position is it's yours, not ours.
In terms of data management, there are obviously different rules for different areas. You've got things like GDPR out of Europe, or the California privacy laws that they've got in place. Our Privacy Act is actually a little bit further down the line. Like, it's a little bit older. It's being rejigged at the moment to be a little bit more fit for purpose. In the process of setting up these connections with Starlink, are there other international rulings around data management that you guys have had to take on board, or has it always just been a case of GDPR is the gold standard, so that's what we aim for anyway?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We aim for the gold standard, and so you assume that it's coming, even if it's not in place, and make sure that you're well positioned when it does. You don't want to be playing catch up on this type of stuff. And again, our starting position is what is best for our customers 100% of the time, and our view is that more stringent gold standard policy and processes around privacy and data management is the right one to follow.
Before we do finish up, is there anything else you want that your customers should know about this rollout and what to expect?
Well, just find out about it and talk to our teams. As I said before, there's with any new technology, there are a bunch of nuances that you need to understand. So you need to understand line of sight to the sky. You need to understand the device. You need to understand that there can be a delay of 30 seconds or 5 minutes between sending and receiving messages. You need to understand that this is an additional layer of security on top of the layers that you already use. So if you're out in a boat and you use an EPIRB, don't throw your EPIRB away because you got your mobile phone in your pocket and you can text. Use it, right? So those are the things that you need to understand. But you also need to understand that this is a once-in-a-generation technology that is a game changer, and we should be really proud of. And so get in behind it and test it and use it.
Well, I want to say thank you for coming on the show today, and if you can please just wait there. I'd like to say to the viewers, you can like and subscribe on all of our platforms, whether you're listening on audio or watching on video, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Blake. And remember that I'm always everyone's personal account manager. My email address is jason.paris@one.nz. And I'm here to help any of your viewers or listeners in any way for their issues or any friends or family issues. I'd much rather know about it than not. So it's a genuine offer of me being their personal account manager 100% of the time. So always here to help. And thanks for having me on.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, I want to thank you guys for sitting through the entire episode and Jason for sitting down and having a chat to us. As I said at the beginning, I was kind of surprised by this one showing up in my inbox. It was definitely a little bit different, but it is what it is, and I hope you guys got something out of it. Now, don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe button, and if you're waiting for the news, that's going to be released as a separate video on Saturday morning for subscribers, unless you're a paid YouTube subscriber, in which case you can watch that now, and it's a special extra long edition because not the holiday. No, it's just been a really weird week full of really weird stuff, which made for a really long episode. Anyway, I'll catch you guys all next time. We will be live again next week. Until then, ka kite anō, live long, prosper, be one with the force. I'll catch you all later. Hey, thanks for checking out today's video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you get more updates as we go along. We deal with these guys for the rest of the year.